From Wish TV and the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is the News 8 Daily 8 Podcast with Wish TV's Kylie Conway. A Wish TV News 8 update.
Hi, this is Kylie Conway, and this is your News 8 Daily 8 for Wednesday, December 14th. A wet start to the day. We should get a mid-morning break before a round of heavier showers moves in later today. That should happen by the evening hours. By midnight, most areas in central Indiana will have the potential for 1 to 1.5 inches of rain. Areas farther south could close in on the 2 inches mark. Highs will be in the upper 40s to low 50s, so certainly mild temperature-wise today. A woman is wounded after somebody shot into a house early this morning. It happened just after 3 on St. Paul Street on the near southeast side of Indianapolis. Police told our crew that was there at the scene that the shots came from outside the home and that the victim is stable at the hospital. Investigators aren't saying if they know who did it or why. And from I-Team 8, detailing the dollars in the Delphi double murder case. As we've reported, the defense team will ask the judge for public money to build his case. On the other side, prosecuting Richard Allen will take major money too. I-Team 8's Richard Essex asked local experts about how much it could all cost and why.
Allen's court-appointed lawyers don't have the resources that the prosecutor's office has. In a closed-door meeting, it is expected that Allen's attorneys will lay out their defense strategy, which is information they don't want the public to know or the prosecutor.
Generally speaking, the prosecution has the advantage in cases like this because even a small county has more resources than an individual when it comes to waging a battle in court.
Richard Allen's lawyers, Andrew Baldwin and Anthony Rosie, who once argued to have records unsealed, are asking the judge to seal their request for more public funding. In the court documents obtained by I-Team 8, they are asking for money to pay for expert fees, expenses, and investigative costs. In making their argument to the judge, Allen's lawyers will have to identify the experts, how they plan on using the information to prove he didn't kill Abby and Libby in 2017.
They'll have investigators to go out and talk to witnesses. There were a lot of people involved in the search for the girls when they disappeared. There are going to be all kinds of records that have to be collected. You're going to have paralegals assigned to the defense team.
The prosecutor's office is required to eventually hand over all the evidence it has in the murders to Allen's attorneys. But this is not a two-way street. Allen's lawyers don't have to share everything until it's presented in court.
I'm sure one of the first experts they're going to get is a ballistics or firearms identification expert concerning that unfired round that was found at the scene of where the girls' bodies were recovered.
Money is the great equalizer for any defense. Allen's attorneys will be asked by prospective experts if they can afford the fees. And the cost of the prosecution is also coming into play. A few weeks ago, the Carroll County Prosecutor's Office asked the county for an additional $40,000 to cover expenses. Crawford is a former Lake County prosecutor, and he believes that Richard Allen's defense and prosecution could cost taxpayers $1 million. Double that if the prosecutor seeks the death penalty.
And I'm sure that the powers that be in Carroll County are trying to figure out if they're going to have to float a bond issue or raise taxes to pay for the prosecution of this case. Unfortunately, I feel in Indiana, we don't have a mechanism to help small counties prosecute sensational cases like this. We don't have the financial ability to help them.
The Carroll County prosecutor said in court that he believes that others are involved. Every arrest that leads to a trial could cost Carroll County taxpayers $1 million for each arrest and trial. In Indianapolis, Richard Essex, Wish TV, I-Team 8.
And we're hearing from a former gas station employee who says he's out of a job and a home after someone attacked him at work. A probable cause affidavit shows Dantrell Shepard beat up John Tucker on September 11th. It happened at the Speedway at West Washington and North White River Parkway Drive West. Tucker says he tried going back to work 2 days later, but was fired for leaving the register unattended during the attack. Tucker says that has left him homeless.
I was on the street for a while, but I have friends, and that helped me. It's sad. It's sad that you have to look over your shoulder, watch what you say, where you walk, how you walk, what you wear. It's gotten sad how society is turned.
IMPD arrested Shepard on October 29th on battery with injury charges. The next court hearing is set for tomorrow. A new ordinance passed by Westfield's mayor could land the city in legal trouble. In a rare move, the Westfield City Council overrode a mayoral veto on term limits. The ordinance, which covers city council members, the clerk treasurer, and mayor, will now take effect after the 2024 elections. It, however, does not include terms served prior to January 1st of 2024. Mayor Andy Cook, who's currently serving his fourth term, says passing the ordinance violates state law that bars a municipality from ordering or conducting an election. He says imposing term limits on mayors and elected officials denies residents the continuity they deserve. Mayor Cook says he has not made a decision on seeking another term, and this didn't impact his veto. The state's largest teachers union wants state lawmakers to make changes to turn around a teacher shortage. The Indiana State Teachers Association laid out its legislative priorities yesterday. The group wants lawmakers to use the upcoming budget setting session to craft better pay and benefits for educators. The union is also asking lawmakers for statewide pre-K, spending boosts for special education and English language learner programs, and increased cultural sensitivity training. This morning, the Respect for Marriage Act is officially in effect. President Biden signed the legislation into law during a ceremony at the White House yesterday. As we've reported, the new law does not require states to legalize same-sex and interracial marriages, but it instead requires each state to recognize other states' legal marriages. And lawmakers are closer to a deal to avoid a government shutdown before Friday's deadline. Congressional negotiators say they've agreed to a framework for a year-long spending bill. Most Senate and House leaders from both parties are offering optimism about getting it done, but there is at least one significant holdout. Kevin McCarthy, the top Republican in the House, told peers he's a hard no on a year-long bill. Some members of Congress are redirecting donations from the founder of FTX, the collapsed cryptocurrency exchange. Sam Bankman-Fried donated to dozens of lawmakers, including the next House Minority Leader, Hakeem Jeffries. Jeffries says he'll send the $5,800 to charity. Bankman-Fried reportedly donated $40 million to candidates competing in the midterm election. As we've reported as breaking news on Daybreak, Bankman-Fried now faces federal charges for wire fraud, conspiracy, and campaign finance violations. Talked about it on the podcast yesterday. He is currently in custody in the Bahamas. Indiana Attorney General Todd Rokita is pushing Apple and Google to change their age ratings on TikTok. He sent letters to both companies yesterday. The letters ask Apple to change its App Store rating from 12 and up to 17 and up, and ask Google to change the rating from teen to mature. Rokita says the current ratings are misleading and deceptive. The letters come less than a week after Rokita launched 2 separate lawsuits against TikTok. Today marks 10 years since the Sandy Hook massacre. The 2012 elementary school shooting in Newtown, Connecticut killed 20 first graders and 6 teachers. Since then, a new school was built and a public memorial was unveiled. The shooting has made several headlines this year. Most recently, a judge ordered conspiracy theorist Alex Jones to pay $1.4 billion to the families of the victims for promoting lies that the massacre was a hoax. In February, victims' families also reached a $73 million settlement with Remington, the company that made the gun used in the shooting. Today, the Federal Reserve is set to vote on whether to raise interest rates for the 7th time this year. According to the Associated Press, the Fed has signaled a half-point hike. The vote comes after yesterday's release of the Consumer Price Index. According to the report, November's inflation rate was 7.3, a low not seen since last December. The Federal Reserve is also expected to announce plans for more hikes next year than previously forecasted. Today, students at Butler University will present recommendations to keep children in Indianapolis safer. Butler says an analytics class has come up with specific recommendations for IPS. The goal is to reverse a jump in crash numbers during pickup and drop-off at schools over the last year. Butler says the recommendations include pedestrian safety courses for students and parents, more police in certain spots, and more barriers to protect older schools that don't have drop-off zones. And to business headlines, Lilly detailed big events expected this year. That includes its new obesity drug, which has shown promise in clinical trials for weight reduction. Other drug launches include for chronic leukemia, lung issues, immune diseases, and Alzheimer's. Lilly says it's ending the year with strong momentum. A customized Moderna cancer vaccine helped ward off the recurrence of melanoma in a mid-stage trial. Also, the combination of Moderna's personalized cancer vaccine and Merck's Keytruda cancer immunotherapy reduced patients' risk of relapse or death by 44% versus Keytruda alone. The results suggest promise for an emerging but unproven class of vaccines that aim to treat diseases rather than prevent infections like typical shots, but still need much more study. Gas Buddy is sticking with its prediction of Christmas gas below $3 a gallon. Gas prices in 15 states have already fallen below that mark. As of Tuesday, the national average for regular gasoline is $3.24 a gallon. AAA says here in Central Indiana, it is $3.15 a gallon. About 39% of the U.S. workforce freelanced this year, up from 36% in 2021. Upwork says more than 40% of Gen Z professionals freelanced this year. The study found that 81% of freelancers chose the option to have more control over their careers, and 73% of them said that perceptions of freelancing as a career are becoming more positive. Finally, new research from Pepperdine University confirms with science what many of us have already experienced or suspected, that the longer women spend on mom-focused social media sites, the higher their stress levels. It found moms going into online spaces have thousands of voices weighing in on their choices, and it's overwhelming. It suggests dabbling in online mom groups, but don't dwell there. This has been your News 8 Daily 8 for Wish TV. I'm Kylie Conway, online at wishtv.com. And follow us on Facebook when you search Wish TV.
This is the News 8 Daily 8 podcast with Wish TV's Kylie Conway. A Wish TV News 8 update on demand. For even more, on demand and on the go. Connect with Wish TV on Facebook at wishtv.com and on the free Wish TV mobile app. Thank you for listening. And be sure to like, subscribe, and follow this podcast for updates every weekday morning on the All Indiana Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcast.